When you're in active job search mode, there are some essential things you need to know and be prepared for before you get the interview call, many of which I bet you've never thought about. But don't worry, in this video, I'm going to tell you everything you need to know to be the best prepared for when you get the call for an interview. Also, I'm going to tell you what questions you should ask the caller so you gain a few insights and be the most prepared candidate possible for your upcoming interview. Hi, welcome back. And if you're new to this channel, I'm Stacey Davidson, founder and CEO of Virtual Job Search Coach, creator of Power Up Your Job Search program. And on this channel, I teach techniques and strategies to help you determine, pursue, and land your dream job. So you're looking for work, you come across an opportunity for your ideal job, you send in your resume and then wait with bated breath for the phone to ring with an invitation for an interview, right? A few days later, you're having lunch with your boss, your phone rings, you answer it, and you're being invited for an interview with your target employer. Yes! But awkward since you're having lunch with your boss. Or it's Friday, it's Teacher's Professional Day, so your kids are at home. Your phone rings as your children are scream fighting in the background, and after you strain to hear the caller say, "I'd like to invite you for an interview," you scramble to get to a quiet place and apologize when you ask the caller to repeat themselves. Not necessarily the most ideal situations you want to be in when you get the call for your dream job interview when first impressions count, right? Right. So I'm going to give you a couple of tips to prevent you getting caught in some of those awkward situations. And I'm going to give you my top 4 questions you should ask the interview caller, as well as my #1 bonus hot tip to help you perform your best in your interview. Before we jump in, please give this video a thumbs up, subscribe to my channel, and so you don't miss out on my upcoming videos, hit that notification bell. The first and most important thing I want you to remember when you're in active job search mode is assume every call is an interviewer calling. If your phone rings while you're in the middle of a grocery store, a noisy place, in the bathroom, driving, or in the middle of something you can't immediately drop, and you don't recognize the number, then don't answer your phone. Let your voicemail take it. As a recruiter and former hiring manager, there's nothing more annoying or unimpressive than trying to have a conversation with someone who's distracted, or can't hear me clearly, and isn't in a position to pay attention and write things down. It leaves a poor impression. Some interviewers will immediately jump into asking you questions, so if you're not fully prepared and able to have your head in the game to answer questions on the spot, take notes, and remember to ask important questions, then don't risk answering the call. So here is my hot tip for this: update your voicemail message. Make sure you have a professional voicemail message. If you have one of those humorous messages that says you're out on the golf course, or it says, "Hello? Hello? Hello? Haha, gotcha! This is actually my voicemail, so leave me a message," then please change it. I appreciate that you have a sense of humor, but when you're in active job search mode, now's the time to be serious, and not everyone may share your style of humor. If your voicemail is that default computer voice or says nothing and just goes straight to the beep, then that's equally as bad. A busy recruiter or hiring manager may not appreciate you wasting their time. And if they think they may also have the wrong number, they may hang up and not call back. So you run the risk of losing out on a potential interview. I am one of those recruiters that has a lengthy call list of people to contact. And if I'm not sure I've reached the correct person, I may just hang up and move on to the next call. And once I've filled my interview slots, no matter how great your resume was, you may get bumped off my list. Have a concise and professional message that states your name so the caller knows they've reached the correct person. Another thing I want you to be prepared with is always keep a pen and paper handy with you, near your phone, or have a notes app on your cell phone. If you're on a headset or are able to use speakerphone, you can pull up the app while you're talking. As much as possible, you want to be prepared with questions handy for when an interviewer calls you. Some recruiters and interviewers will email you rather than phone, and that's okay. The 4 questions I'm going to give you in a minute will still apply. Personally, I prefer to phone people because I like to hear what they sound like, how they answer the phone, and if they do exactly what I just finished explaining not to do, like answering an unknown call in the middle of a noisy environment. When you are on the call, pay attention and take notes of the caller's name, their title, and what company they're calling from, in case you need to call them back. They may be a recruiter or an assistant calling to schedule you for an interview with someone else. Make sure you ask for the names and job titles of the people that you'll be interviewing with. Now, let's move on to the 4 questions you should ask when you do speak to the caller. They don't necessarily need to be asked in this order. #1, is there a written job description I can obtain? Don't assume the posting you applied for is the full job description. It likely isn't. Public sector, government-based organizations will usually have a link to the full job description in their posting or on their application site. But most private companies will only post a basic scope and qualifications required for the position, not the full responsibilities of the role. It's important to try to obtain a copy of the full job description because the majority of interview questions will be related to the requirements and responsibilities of the role. And it can help tremendously in anticipating the types of questions you may be asked, which will help you prepare better with stronger answers. If a company is small, new, or the position is a newly created role, it is possible they may not have a job description developed yet. If this is the case, here is my hot tip. Do an online search by job title, the words job description, and the industry. So for example, operations manager job description in manufacturing. You should be able to find several job descriptions through a variety of websites. Review at least 3 job descriptions by the same title to identify similarities in the role, and use this as a basis to help determine what types of questions you may be asked. If you want to learn my top 10 interview topics I ask candidates, then check out my video called Nail Your Interview with These 10 Examples. I'll put a link in the description box below. Question number 2, what is the type of interview? It's very important to ask what type of interview to expect. How many people will you be meeting with? Who will you be meeting with? Names and titles. There are many types of interviews, such as pre-screening interviews, scheduled telephone or video interviews, traditional one-on-one interviews, sequenced interviews, panel interviews, team interviews, group interviews, just to name a few. I'll be doing another video in the near future explaining each of these interview types, so now's the time, if you haven't already, hit that notification bell so you don't miss out. In order to prepare more effectively for your interview, it helps to know what to expect. If you've watched some of my other videos, you may have heard me say performing well in an interview is due to 75% preparation and 25% execution. Question number 3, what is the length? I highly recommend asking how long the interview is expected to be. Preparing for a 10-minute interview, half an hour, 90 minutes, or 2-hour interview is very different and will help you anticipate how many questions you'll be asked. Plus, if you're expecting it to only be half an hour and it goes on for 2, there's nothing worse than having to ask to go to the bathroom halfway through your interview, right? And here's my hot tip on this. Regardless of how long your interview is, I always recommend taking your own bottle of water with you. While most professional HR people will offer or provide you with a glass of water at the interview, never assume. Some people just don't think to offer that courtesy, and there's nothing worse than getting dry mouth due to nerves or anxiety, and then your tongue starts sticking to the roof of your mouth when you're trying to talk. And question number 4, will there be any testing scheduled? This is an optional question depending on your line of work, and if you want to know in advance if there might be any testing involved. If you're applying for an administrative or financial support role, for example, you may be asked to perform a typing speed test, numerical accuracy, spelling, grammar, or math assessments. If you're in a more technical role, such as a programmer or software developer, you may be asked to perform a code rating exercise. In a graphic design, marketing, or communications role, you may be asked to perform an assignment to demonstrate your design or writing skills. Some companies perform personality, psychological, IQ, EQ, or competency assessments as part of their routine hiring practices to help determine a candidate's fit with the team or company culture. Now comes my number 1 bonus hot tip. Are you ready? I recommend having a bit of a strategy in mind if you're offered a choice of appointment time. Try to choose and arrange a time that is when you are at your best energy level. If you're not a morning person, then don't pick an early morning. If you tend to fall asleep at your desk at 3 o'clock in the afternoon, then perhaps afternoon is not the best time for you. And here's my insider secret. As an interviewer, I always remember the first candidate because they set the bar and the tone for that particular interview project. I also always remember the last person I interview. If I'm interviewing 10 people over the course of several days, it's easy to forget those that don't stand out. So ideally, I suggest trying to be the first in the week or the day to set the benchmark, or last to leave a lasting impression. I hope today's strategies and tips help you power up your job search and be a little more prepared for your next interview. If you like what you learned today, please be sure to give this video a thumbs up, subscribe to my channel, and if there's a job search or interview related topic you'd like to learn more about in a future video, please drop me a comment. I would love to hear from you. And if you found this video helpful, here are a couple of my other top videos you might also like. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in my next video.